Newstalk ZB. Are we on already? We got talking. We were talking, weren't we? Prime Minister, welcome.
Great to
welcome
be with
to
you.
the show. Sorry, that was really rude of me and a terrible way of starting, but we were just having a chat, weren't we? Mitch, you and I.
Great.
And our producers were talking in the background and everyone forgot to start. Christopher Luxon, Prime Minister, welcome to the show.
Good to be with you, Nick. Thanks for having us on.
It's been a while.
It's been, I think it was just pre-election, wasn't it? That during the election campaign, I swung by. It was the last time I probably caught up with you in person. So it's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. A couple of little questions I want to start before I get in. The whole idea of this TikTok stuff. You're a TikTok sensation. You're a star. Are you going to go into movies after what's the deal behind it all?
Politics, you'll never hear from me again, I think. But I think I'll do the job as hard as I can for as long as I can. But and then do something else. But no, look, the reason I do that is because the media environment's really fragmented, right, in New Zealand. And actually what's happening now is people aren't watching the 6 o'clock news anymore. In fact, all demographics, it's people are watching online video. That's where they're getting their news and their information from. So, yes, we've got a press gallery in Wellington in the Parliament. They sort of get very obsessed on the political stuff. You've got other journalists. You've got commercial radio. Often I had really good conversations on mental health, for example, on commercial radio stations. But I also think talking directly to New Zealanders when they're increasingly online.
You enjoy it?
Media. Yeah, it's great. It's great. So it's another way of reaching people. And I'm just of the view that you should use all the media channels, all the media outlets to try and tell your story and what you're trying to do and communicate with people because that's a great thing is that in New Zealand, politicians should be pretty accessible and which, compared to other countries, and you got to talk to everyone and all avenues.
Quick one before we get into the mood of the city and Wellington stuff. Premier House, have you put a new kitchen and put a new dunny in there yet? And have you got it sorted out? Are you going
I think
in
they
there?
have finished painting. It's just paint, carpet and curtains. Paint and curtains at this point.
Will you move in there?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'd love to move in. And it's just that essentially what's happened there is the house hasn't been invested in. Since basically Bolger's family, Bolger had that refurbished in 1990, I think it was. So it's just a place where they have wanted to paint and to put new curtains in. So that's what we're going to do.
Right. Let's talk Wellington issues.
Yeah.
Wellington's in a rut right now. You spend enough time here to realise we're in a rut. It's been a whole lot of debates. We're dying. When things get better, we've got business owners sitting in the seat you're sitting in telling us all the time that the public service cuts have been a big impact on the city. We know that the public service cuts were needed. But do you think the government underestimated what they were going to do to Wellington by doing them?
Well, I just think Wellington's had, I love Wellington. I lived here. It's where I came to after I got married. And I worked here, obviously out in Petone, and Amanda taught here. And our first house we bought here up in Nio. And I love Wellington, great city, and I came here in the mid-90s and, it was really pumping and it was a great place. You got lots of young people, smart, educated.
But you'd feel that it's not like that now.
Well, but I think you've got a council here. The good people of Wellington vote for those people. That's who they elect, and that's who they decide. And the councils, makes decisions about what it's doing to drive activity into the central city, and the investments it needs to make. So,
does the government take any kind of responsibility though in the tough times? Does it say, look, we know that we're going to have tough times?
I acknowledge. We are. We're wanting to right size the public service and make sure it's delivering in a sharper way. But I just say to you, I don't think that's the only problem. I don't think that's the, like every city across New Zealand, it's been pretty tough times because we've had a bad set of economics, courtesy of the previous administration, which we're cleaning up and fixing up, and hopefully, we're going to get the economy growing very shortly.
Compare it quickly to Auckland, the two cities you spend in. Do you feel that in Auckland that it's got the lull that we're experiencing in Wellington?
Well, they've both got different challenges. Auckland's had a major challenge in the CBD area around crime in particular. And so, you've had you've had people out of the city, so not working in the city. You've had post-COVID, you've had emergency housing, you've had crime, a crime wave down in downtown Auckland. It's been very challenging. So, the good news is we've actually put extra police into Auckland on the beat, and actually we've seen a really significant improvement, 22% less serious assaults.
And same in Wellington.
And we've got 17 police here in Wellington, and I've actually heard from, business owners here in Wellington as I've moved around just saying, oh, Chris, that's actually working. We're seeing police, they're visible. They think that's been helping a lot. But, you've got to determine that you want that downtown area in Wellington to be very vibrant. You want it to be the go-to place. That's how it used to be.
Do you agree with the Golden Mile still going ahead, knowing the financial problems that we're having in the city? Do you think it should start?
Well, my message, as I said the other day at a city council, local government conference was, look, I want councils to focus on the basics and do the basics brilliantly, which is, drive your local economy, make the investments that matter most to people. Don't do vanity projects and nice to do stuff. Don't do expensive stuff.
But then
get it sorted.
You were looking straight at Tory whānau when you made that speech.
Yep.
You were looking at that group. You said, pull your heads in, pull your belts in,
Yep.
let's get sorted. Now, I know that was too late for them to do that. The very next day, or the very next week, we hear of a $550,000 bike rack on the terrace. I mean, doesn't that want you to pull whatever hair you've got left out?
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any more to pull, but it's but look, I mean, that's the point I was trying to make, is councils need to get back to basics. Families across New Zealand have tightened their belts. Businesses have had to do it. Talk about hospitality business, we were talking about that before. Exactly what's happened. Central government's had to do it, and council should do the same. And when you see the cost of producing, pedestrian crossing, jutta bars, road, other stuff, that's the stuff I'm saying. Stop the dumb stuff. Stop the nice to do stuff. Do
so
the
back to the Golden Mile.
Go
what would
back
you
to
do?
the basics.
If you were Mayor of Wellington right now and you've seen it,
well, I'm not Mayor of Wellington.
But you're smart enough to know that what's going on in Wellington.
Well,
so
all I'd just be saying is I want to drive. I mean, Wellington's a great city. It's an awesome city. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to live in. It's got a cultural edge to it that no other city's got in its proposition. You've got intelligent young people here that come to work in government and in and around and adjacencies to government. So you want to drive into that hospitality sector in the central city. You want to make people come into the heart of the city, and you want to do everything you can to make that as easy and as simple as possible. You want to make moving around the city really simple. Let's get Wellington moving. I mean, it's just a conversation, a post-it note for a decade. Nothing happened. So either you're serious.
You still haven't told me whether you think we should go ahead with it.
No, well, I'm not going to say that, because I think that's ultimately a decision for the people of Wellington. And I just say to the people of Wellington...
But the people of Wellington...
You vote for who you vote for.
Yeah, I know, and I get that.
voted for this administration.
But then we've got a government that can actually look at the problems. And
No, I want to be clear. We have local government, and they're supposed to deliver their communities and their local government. We have 1,600 elected officials across this country and 67 district councils.
So basically, can I get into this weeds then? So basically, Wellington City Council can do whatever they want, and you'll just let them put up with it. So Simeon Brown, telling us that he's going to keep an eye on things.
I had local government in my office yesterday, and our message was very simple. We are going to benchmark the performance of our councils. We want to understand how well they are responding to their customers, which is their ratepayers, and want to make sure that they are actually spending money on the right stuff. We're going to put some controls and some visibility and benchmarking around all of that stuff. In New South Wales, you go in there and you can actually get the information about how long does it take for people to respond to getting a resource consent. How long does it take to get customer service out of councils? A lot of the frustrations people have is it just takes too long. It's massive bureaucracies. Nothing's getting done. The important stuff's not getting focused on. So at the moment, you want to be driving.
How close to there being sort of, I don't know, bringing in someone to keep an eye on things? How close are we? You obviously had this conversation with Simeon Brown. You live in the city part-time, so you know that the actual voters may have made a mistake or there's issues.
No, the local vote in a democracy, then the Wellington people get a chance every 3 years to determine who their local councillors are and who their mayor will be and how the city will be led. That's their decision. They've made their decision.
But you definitely sorted out.
So I respect the decision that they've made.
Okay.
But all I'm saying to you is my message to councils is very simple, which is get it together, get it gripped up, focus on what you need to focus on, and that's making sure you serve the ratepayers well.
So how close would you say Wellington councillors right now, remembering that you've given them a couple of ultimatums, Simeon Brown's written them a couple of letters, the 10-year plan might not be going ahead because of the sale of the airport shares, which we'll get into shortly. How close do you reckon it is before that you look at something like an observer?
A Crown Observer would be the next thing. You then move to a commissioner.
Do you think we'd be close?
Tauranga, and Tauranga, well, you got to such a point of dysfunction in Tauranga that putting the commissioner in was a perfect answer and exactly what we needed to do.
So how close do you reckon we are to a Crown Observer?
Well, I'm not going to talk about that because I think those are decisions ultimately.
There's a lot of talk around town that there is discussions being going on already. Is that would that be right or not?
I think you can read between the lines that I'm pretty. I want better performance out of Wellington City Council.
Right.
That's pretty clear. I started with some focus remarks and as I said, we're sitting in a lovely convention centre, which is wonderful. But you got pipes bursting.
So the Crown Observer has definitely been discussed, and it's something that
I'm sure there's a range of advice that Simeon Brown takes as the Minister of Local Government.
How good is he? Is he good enough to actually get something done?
He is brilliant. He is brilliant. He is a brilliant minister, and he is working incredibly hard on transport, local government.
And what's
I've
his
also made a
relationship
Minister
with
of Auckland.
Wellington? Sorry to interrupt. That was really rude.
No,
of me.
no,
I
no.
apologise. That
No,
was
no.
rude. What's his relationship, Simeon Brown's relationship, like with Tory whānau? Do you know?
Well, both him and I have met with Tory, and we try and have professional relationships about what's going on. But ultimately, we have to respect that there is local government, and this is the system that we have in New Zealand.
You've got
whether you
ultimate
like it or not.
control. I mean, a Crown observer could clean it all up for you and for me and for the people of Wellington. I know you're getting a little bit frustrated with my approach.
No,
on this,
no,
but
no, no, no,
I
not
know
at all.
that's the vibe of the city, and you know that. You know that's the vibe of the city.
Well, again, those will be decisions for Simeon Brown to make. I can tell you he's following things very closely, as he does in all the other cities as well, and he and I both do that. And we talk regularly about what we think's needed. And what we've decided is, look, I gave a pretty clear direction in my speech as to what I expected from councils, all councils across the country. Some are doing an exceptionally good job.
Can I ask you, because Nicola Willis has been critical of the council in the past, do you think that our Wellington Council is performing as they should be?
No.
Great. We've got somewhere. We got somewhere.
Well, no, I don't think you have to read.
I know. I mean, you know what I mean.
I want all councils across the country to perform better. But do I think Wellington's realising its potential? No, I don't at the moment. And I think it's a great city and it's got a fantastic future.
Do you
and
think
it's got lots of elements to it that other cities don't have that can build a great proposition as to why this city's special and important?
And it is a beautiful.
They can do
city.
better.
Do you think that Simeon Brown is the right man to actually get us through this?
Yes, absolutely.
So you've got full confidence that he's all over this.
He is all over this like a rash.
Okay.
So you do not worry.
Okay, Thank you. Well, that's a great time to take a break. Wellington Mornings with Prime Minister Chris Hipkins. Chris Hipkins!
I was wondering how long it would take you to do that.
Oh, bloody hell, I blew it. Living heck, how did I do that?
It happens to both of us quite a bit, actually.
Gosh, sorry. Christopher Luxon. Oh, I just lost my job. I can see the written warning coming in. Hit me with the GDP numbers. What are we going to?
Well, look, I mean, they come out tomorrow. I haven't seen them, actually. That's the process, so I don't get to see them in advance.
Oh, come on. I don't believe
No, I
that.
honestly don't. I honestly don't see them. But there is, obviously, the forecasts are that they will still be negative. And that's not surprising because it doesn't really matter what the numbers are. It's clear that we're in a recession and we have been now for a couple of years. And that, sort of what everyone needs to understand is we have to kind of relearn the lessons of economics over and over again. And this generation's having to relearn it again now. Because essentially it's very simple. It just comes down to 5 things. One is if you spend a lot of money, as the previous guys did, you drive up inflation. When you drive up inflation, you have to lift interest rates. It's the only thing you can do. When you lift interest rates, you then stop people from spending money because they don't have it, because they've got mortgage payments, and businesses don't invest because they've got high costs. So then the economy goes into recession, meaning it shrinks, which is where we are today. And then what happens is if businesses have hung in through the inflation, interest rates, and lower consumer demand through a suppressed economy, they end up having to lay off workers, and that's kind of where we are now. It's the lag.
So how long do we have to hold on? When is it going to come
That's
right?
what we're doing. So we've got, as you saw in the budget in May, when we came in, we've been quite tough and fiscally disciplined, and that's why we've got the public service focus and the spending under control. We're going to make sure that discipline stays there. That has led to inflation coming down from 7.3 down to 3.3, 3.2 I think. We should get into the band, which is between 1 to 3, hopefully in the next quarter. The good news is that finally interest rates, we had our first interest rate cut. That's fantastic. That means we're on a downward trajectory now for the next wee while.
How long do I have to hold on for?
Well, next year, you got different forecasts saying the economy will be growing positively, and that's a great thing. So then we get the economic growth going. People now have more money with lower interest rates to spend in the economy, and then you actually get businesses wanting to invest long term because they're confident. And the good news is business confidence is at a 10-year high, which is fantastic. So people know it's.
See,
it's very tough.
I'm in that business.
I'm not
in that
concluding that
business.
it's not tough, but they are looking forward and going, we trust these guys to actually sort this economy out, to get it back on track.
I'm 100% sure that we trust you to do right. I mean, that's what you got voted in for. But how long do we have to wait? When do you think?
As I said, next year, if you look at the forecast, that's forecasting positive growth, which is fantastic.
Okay.
So if we
Let's move on.
If we can get more interest rate cuts coming, we'll get that growth happening in the economy. That will then kick in and give consumers more free money to spend.
Okay.
I mean, the amazing thing is, Nick, with that interest rate rise, it was so fast that the average person, I remember looking at it last year, had like a $700 per fortnight added to their interest bill. And because New Zealanders have high numbers of fixed mortgages, they end up going from low interest rates. So all of a sudden they got this massive jump, and they had to go find $700 a fortnight. So that $700 a fortnight that could be spent in the economy, in hospitality, buying stuff, driving opportunities, jobs.
Let's quickly, because I know you're in a real tight time thing, and I really got a couple of means.
No, you go. Sorry.
Inter-Island ferry.
Yep.
I mean, how close is there anything in Cabinet? Have we got to Cabinet? I mean, we know the importance of hopefully you know the importance of this to Wellington and to New Zealand.
Oh, important.
So is it to Cabinet yet? Is a new deal, a new plan, a plan B, anything into Cabinet?
There's ongoing conversations, but what we've had is first and foremost, that the assets that we've got today go out to the end of 2029, right?
So nothing's going to happen between now and 2029.
So the ferries actually, the ones that we've got today by Kiwi Rail are completely operable up until 2029. They can be well maintained and be perfectly efficient, work really well until that point.
So your planning is nothing happens till then?
No, we're working on it now because we have to, because the lead time to get new boats is what we need to use between now and 2029.
Has it gone to Cabinet?
No, not as a proposal. But having said that, we have a ministerial advisory group, that gave us a bunch of thoughts, and that's being discussed amongst ministers. But we will have a solution. But the point is, and we are very committed to it. So shouldn't be anxious about it. But we want to get the right solution because what happened last time was you end up with these boats, these big boats. All of a sudden, then what was a $600 million project blew out to $3.2 billion. All because 80% of the cost was actually in the port adjustments in Wellington and in Picton.
Okay, can I put you in a scenario?
Yeah.
It's blowing a northwesterly in Wellington, quite a tough northwesterly. You've just pulled up at the ferry terminal with your caravan on your back, and you're going down to Kaikoura with your wife and kids for a little weekend.
Yeah.
Would you hop on the ferry tomorrow?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Would you hop on it this time next year?
Yep.
You've got full confidence.
Yeah. I mean, having run an airline and having run looking at railway companies or transport companies, and whether it's trucks or trains or planes or rail, locomotives or ferries, it's the same thing. You determine the life of an asset, and so this asset can actually go. These assets go out to the end of 2029. And then you have regular maintenance and scheduled maintenance that actually makes sure that those assets are maintained. And so that's important. Okay. That in Kiwi Rail, they've got a massive obligation like Air New Zealand does on maintaining its aircraft fleet to do exactly the same thing.
Okay, quickly, because I know I'm on your time scale. I don't want to rush you, but I know you've got more other things to do today. The transport plan a few weeks ago was huge for Wellington, the second Mount Victoria tunnel. Which has been talked about for years, and I know the government is looking into this mega tunnel now.
The long tunnel option.
The long tunnel option. Now, I've spoken to somebody who didn't know that I was in media, didn't have a clue who I was, and he told me that he was involved in that, and he reckons that it's a deal. He reckons the tunnel from the Terrace to Kilburnie is a plan, and it should be done, and exactly. he was head of that job.
Well, we came here to government, and what we found out is no one had done the consideration on the long tunnel option. And actually, we've got clarity on the tunnel replacement as it was, but actually Simeon's done the right thing, which is to say, look, actually we've got that option understood. We know what's involved with replacing it directly, but if there is actually the second option called the long tunnel option, that could be the better answer long term. It could.
What's your gut on that?
Well, he'll come out and say something about it shortly, but we do genuinely need to do the work on that because I said to him, well, I don't really want to go spend billions of dollars doing a tunnel replacement if there is a better option that actually for the long term of the city.
Is there a chance that you're going to come back to us, because it was spades and the shovels in the ground before in this period of your leadership? Is there a chance that you could come back to us in a year's time or 2 years' time and say, look, we're not going to get shovels in the ground, but we are now going to go to this major tunnel from the Terrace, which is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, what Simeon and I've discussed is, look, we need to get a tunnel replacement. It's 100 years old. You've got 40,000 vehicles going through there a day. It's well past its useful life. So we need a new tunnel. We know that option of replacement, as we've talked and everyone's talked about in the past. But what we have is this long tunnel option. And so I've said to him, legitimately, take your time, actually make sure you get it right, because getting it right is actually important because you've got decades ahead of you once you get it completed and you want it done properly.
So you're not quite as convinced that
what I said to him is, by the end of this year, come out, or and he'll shortly have a view as to whether it's the long tunnel option or the other option, and let's get clear as to what scenario we're going for, and then it's full court press to get it done.
I've sort of got a gut feeling, just talking to you and talking to people around town, that long tunnel might be the go.
Well, it's just that it's a really attractive option because I think, in theory, but you've got to understand what that all means, and so that's where he's at, and that's right. What he's got to do that work in fairness to him before he can talk, probably further about it.
Been great catching up. I know that I had to rush through things.
It's like speed dating with you.
Well, sorry, I apologise. I apologise that we had to rush through some stuff, but it's a pleasure to have you.
Well, let's do it again sometime. It'd be great.
Prime Minister Christopher Luxon. I got your name right even. Gosh, damn.
Well done.